Good morning, YouTube. It's Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Well, we've been talking about Friday for a little bit being a big day, and here we go. We have the enhanced risk. We have a bimodal severe weather threat, and there still could be a chance that this enhanced risk stretches down to here. I'm not entirely sure about this setup as much. There is plenty of instability with this, but nonetheless, here are the threats that we have so far. Tornado threat is mainly with the northern risk, more so towards the high plains. This has gotten centered more so towards Wyoming in the last little bit here. That's been the recent trend there. Wind threat is also prevalent with the northern risk along with the hail threat. There is 15% hazards on both the wind and hail threat for the southern risk. I do think there is some potential, but my confidence has kind of waned a little bit. May not be as much forcing, and there's a little bit stronger of a cap over here too from the looks of it. Well, you're going to do a little analysis on that in a minute. Or actually right now, really, because I'm short on time. So, a couple things to look at here. This is the 850 millibars, so the low-level jet, or LLJ, as we'll refer to on the channel here. You'll see when we talk about it later tonight when we're live. But as a whole here, I'm trying to get the screen right so you can see the time frame. Storms don't really start to initiate until about 23Z, which would be about 6 o'clock Central Time. And the low-level jet really starts to ramp up later into the evening around 01 and 02Z. And we have to watch out for any storms that end up forming amongst this area, especially on the forward flanks of these. It's questionable whether storms will develop in this area here. As you can see, by this point, there's a pretty strong cap out ahead of this line, out ahead of the LLJ. And this is my concern with the storms in Texas, is that because of this cap probably being too strong, storm coverage will be pretty limited. The low-level jet can sometimes move the cap, but this one's exceptionally strong. So it's really going to be more the northern setup that's going to have most of the action here as it looks right now. Of course, things do change throughout the day, and we do have to keep an eye on that. And here's a great example of it. Looking at the hodograph right here, this whole entire sounding is a lot more impressive. You have the hazard of Tor here. You have slightly elevated storms, but I don't think that will be enough of a factor to stop these. Pretty strong storm relative helicity, high Cape values. Just pretty much everything that you would look for severe weather, it's there. And even the significant Tor parameter, or STP, is pretty high as well. D Cape's high. Literally everything is here. It's present. That being said, this threat's going to be persistent throughout the evening. This is as far as I can go with the HRRR right now from the latest model update. So as far as the wind profile is concerned, we already know that the upper and mid-level is pretty impressive. It's well set. It's got this classic ski jump look to it. We've shown it in the last few videos. Not going to try to be too repetitive here. That being said, we also know that the moisture return's pretty impressive too. By the time we get into the early afternoon, we get a little bit of a dry line setup, especially more so towards the west too. This is also what's probably going to help with the ascent here, so to speak. The fact that we have this boundary here, and there's a pretty strong contrast too. This is probably why the enhanced risk setup exists here more so than it does towards Texas. If this surge of dry air were to come in over here a little bit more, I do think that there would be enough of divergence here for a bigger severe weather event. But that being said here, still have to be on the lookout for storms over towards Texas. There are pretty good dew points, but like I said, there's not really a strong dry line. It's all going to be here. I do think that there could be some potential to extend that tornado threat a little bit more towards Colorado too, because that low-level jet is pretty strong over there. Also, another thing to probably keep note of here is some of the other ingredients we look at. For example, lapse rates. This is good for both the hail and the tornado threat. Usually this is a good indicator of hail here, and we have some ridiculous lapse rates. These are super high, so hail potential will be through the roof. Even though the lapse rates are high here, it looks like I picked a moderately bad sounding. Hazard type is none, so might have goofed it there, but nonetheless though, if we look at the lapse rates, for example, here, we have some ridiculous numbers. We got lapse rates towards 8s and 9s. There probably still is chance of a severe threat here based off the analogs, albeit they are loose ones. So it's not a great SQT chart for an example, but nonetheless, though, the threat does seem like it's there. A little phlegm in my throat. Excuse my roommate upstairs. But lapse rates are looking pretty crazy here. We could see some big hail, especially early in the evening. I think the tornado threat will persist a little bit later, and then also the wind threat will also increase. Another thing to keep note of is the CAPE, it's the convective available potential energy in the atmosphere. We have pretty high levels of CAPE here over towards the western high plains here. And even through Texas, there's still plenty of 3000s here. If I were to click on this, we still get some decent parameters. We get parameters for severe. We get high D-CAPE here. And then there's pretty good values on hail. And also the lapse rates are pretty good here. We get 7s and 8s over here as well. So definitely something to keep note of here. But again, the wind profile doesn't really seem all that impressive. Still think that there could be a chance that this area gets upgraded to moderate. Maybe not for a tornado threat necessarily, though. Then again, there are discrete storms, so it's a wild card. But that's what we see going on with the CAPE here. We'll also take a look at the significant tornado parameter, and we'll kind of go on from that point and show what the radar looks like here. Now, one thing I want to make note of here is with the significant tornado parameter, I want to make sure this is very clear. If you don't have severe thunderstorm conditions over your area, if you don't have a risk of severe thunderstorms, normally this doesn't really come into play. So if you see your area happening to be under any sort of colors, any of these sort of colors here, don't be too quick to get worried. This is usually going off of other atmospheric ingredients. But again, like I said before, if there are no thunderstorms in the area to take advantage of this environment, nothing to be concerned with. Do get some pretty high values over here. In fact, I see what looks like maybe a 5 in there somewhere. Might actually take a quick look at that. Pretty similar look across the board here. Like I said, kinematically, this setup is just so much better than what's going on down west. Lift index is really high with this one, so we could even see a couple of strong tornadoes. This tornado threat itself, I think, also has a chance of being upgraded over towards the northern risk. Towards the southern risk, we do have some numbers, but I think they're a little bit further away from where the storms will be. So I'm not going to read into that too much as of right now. It'll be interesting to see what happens over here towards Kansas, seeing those higher numbers here, but I do think maybe the cap might be too strong here. Kind of hard to say right now, but we'll just have to keep an eye on it throughout the course of the day. Last area to look at here would be the updraft helicity here, along with reflectivity. So what we're looking for here on this map, because it's a little different than your typical composite reflectivity, is we're looking for these little black streaks that'll come across the screen here. Try to make sure I show you the time frame, but here's what we have going here so far. Nothing really going until later into the evening. When we get towards OOZ, you can see this little black mark from this range, or it looks like a black mark from this range. These are updraft helicities. These stronger updraft helicities will be represented on here by these little black streaks, and updrafts are very important to severe thunderstorm development, tornadoes, etc. We do see a couple of these in Texas, but again, main ones to watch for are going to be more so towards this northern setup here. We also see potential for a line of thunderstorms develop towards northern Wyoming here, so the damaging wind threat here might be pretty high as we get later into the evening. But this is pretty much it for this video. If you liked what I did here, you know what to do. Definitely smash that like button, decimate that subscribe button, face kick that share button, and Thor punch the bell. Make sure you keep that bell on, because that'll let you know whenever we're going live, whenever a video comes out, and more. Appreciate you all being here. This has been Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys later today. Take care.